We are here at the Tour de France with some of the hottest bikes in the world, and the brands really do pull out all of the stops for this race. And we're starting with this, the Cervelo R5. This is brand new for the race. We actually saw it at the Dauphiné, but this thing is lighter. It comes in at 6.8 kilos as you see it. So this 58, 6.8 kilos with the Garmin, with the pedals, that is fantastic. Not all brands have done that, as we'll see later. So they've done some interesting things. First up here, you'll see this is a brand new one-piece integrated cockpit, and it's quite a slim design. Weight is the focus here. There's not so many aero things going on, but as we go down here, we do see some kind of camtail-ish design tubes. So these have the flat back profiles. But really, this is all about weight saving. In here are titanium parts in this section for the clamp. That's gorgeous. And then down here with the front brake, we've got a whole new design to the way that this clamps on. That is really, really nice. These seat stays are super skinny. Now, the R5 has always been a skinny bike, but these are ridiculously thin. And then that might look like the old seat post, but apparently we've been told it's not. Brand new one. Really, really thinned down, lightened bike. I really like this. Tell you who's got swanky things is Tadej Pogacar. 2 bikes for this year's race. He's got the Y1 RS, which is his aero bike, and he's got the V5 RS, which is his kind of general climbing bike. Both of them very interesting, but the V5 RS caught my eye because it's got new Enve wheels on it. And these aren't really what anyone would expect from a new wheel or even Enve, because Enve are very progressive. They've gone wider with their internal widths, and these ones, well, they're a pro version. They are for Pogacar, basically. It's what he wanted. He wanted narrower. So these are narrower internally. What it does, and this is probably the entire reason that they're doing this, is it allows them to use Continental's GP5000 TT tyre. So these are 28 millimeters, and technically under the ETRTO rules, you can't use those tyres on Enve's normal rims. The cockpit is fully integrated, so Visma and UAE are really like matching on these things now. Cervelo and Colnago kind of both giving their riders, Vingegaard and Pogacar, an aero bike and a lightweight climbing bike. We haven't been able to weigh Pogacar's climbing bike, but apparently it sits right under, just fractionally under the UCI's minimum weight limit of 6.8 kilos. So I will be wondering what the UAE mechanics will be doing to bring that bike up to weight. If one new bike from Cervelo wasn't enough, how about 2? This is the new S5. So we've seen this a little bit more than the R5, certainly a bit more than the R5, but there's still so much going on here. This is Jonas Vingegaard's bike as well. So this bike could be winning the Tour de France. They've added mass to the nose cone, and they've added mass to the trailing edge of this head tube. That isn't as noticeable though as these fork legs, which are now, well, they're just as wide in the widest place as the old fork legs, but they kind of continue down as a kind of a straight piece. So they're visually much, much wider. Now, there's a real asymmetric rear end to this bike, which looks very odd when you view it from the front. But Cervelo have been just telling us that these reserve wheels have been designed, and the frames have been designed with the wheels to work in sync. So it's a full aero package. I think it looks sensational. And then there are 2 more weight-saving measures up front. The fork, I think, saves about 24 grams over the old model, but also the bar. They've trimmed some weight out of there because if you look in here, there's no bolts or anything like that. So it used to be a 2-piece system with this kind of V section then joined onto the bar. And I've also been asking the team about those UCI rule changes. Now, the bars here look super narrow, but actually these are going to be legal, the team says, next year. Also, the wheels that they have here, I believe they are 64 millimeters deep. So they are 1 millimeter under the new restrictions. The gearing, We're not too sure. There is a SRAM representative here, but they can't really say much more than they're talking with the UCI. In terms of what practical measures the team will be taking, I would suspect that they will have to lock off that 10 tooth at the bottom end. But one of the key figures that I've been saving right until the end, do you want to guess how much this bike weighs? Full aero bike in this setup, 7.2 kilos. That is fantastic. That means that Jonas can switch on to the R5 for the super hilly days, but for the rest, he can save all of those aero savings and all of that energy by going with the R5. R5, S5. Got them wrong. There's two things here on Søren Werenskjold's bike. Butchered his name, I apologize. It kind of proves that Aero is everything, but it also isn't everything. So up at here, we've got the Continental Aero 111 tire. That's a very aerodynamic tire. It's got some profiling on the shoulder to help the tire cut through the air. I also think it's quite narrow. The only ones I've seen of these are about 26 millimeters wide, which by today's standards, very, very skinny. But then you come up to the front end and you can see a massive stack of spacers under the stem. Now, all that's telling me is that Søren is a very big guy, but he needs to put out a lot of power. And he can't maybe do that in a super slammed position. So they do this to make sure that he's comfortable on the bike, and therefore he can put out all his power. So it is a balance. Okay, two very special bikes right here. We've got Mathieu van der Poel's Aeroad, and right beside me, Jasper Philipsen's Aeroads. These pretty much are matchy-matchy. Only a few differences. Obviously, Van der Poel has a lovely white with little speckly gold finish. Interestingly for me, these bikes are fully set up for aero, both of them. So we've both got the C60 wheels with Pirelli P0 Race TLR RS tires. In terms of tyre size, interestingly, I would have thought these riders for the opening stages of the Tour de France, where the roads are relatively good around here, would be on 28s. They're both on 30s, which is quite a nice little touch. There's nothing too different setup-wise about Van der Poel's bike. His bar width is relatively standard. His hood angle is relatively standard as well. I don't think he'll have to do too much to make that UCI compliant next year. Also with the C60s, they won't have to change those rim depths. Another key detail about both bikes is that they both feature waxed chains. Now, these look like they've been immersion waxed to me, properly stripped, properly waxed. My old colleague, Simon von Romney, would be very pleased with one of them. And to finish up, I want to ask you a question, because Jasper Philipsen has a beautiful kind of marbly effect. But which one would you go for, black or white? So we're here with the Picnic Post NL bikes, and what I love about these bikes is that they are, well, very standard looking. And that's one thing I want to talk about, because if you look down this line of bikes, next year with the UCI's changes to the equipment regulations, probably all of these are going to be illegal, which is ridiculous in my mind. Because if we come over here, come this way, come and look at Oscar Onley's bike. There is nothing unusual about this front end. It's a relatively, sensible setup. It's not particularly narrow. His hoods are a relatively sensible angle, but I can bet you that the gap between there and there is going to be something in the region of 28, 30 centimeters, and that will be illegal. So how these pros are actually going to make their bikes legal for next year is beyond me. Okay, this is a bit of a treat. I'm joined by Mikey, head of equipment here at Intermarché 1T team. Next year, UCI have swung the banhammer at quite a bit of the things on this bike, starting with the handlebars.
Yeah, I can confirm 100% of our handlebar positions are non-compliant for next year. So that's a massive thing, but it's not only in our team, it's in all teams like that. Yeah.
And then on your rear wheel.
Yeah, we have different wheel set options, of course. This wheel set is our sprint wheel set. It's 60 millimeters in front and 66 millimeters in the rear, so 1 millimeter non-compliant. Yeah. But it's not really realistic at this point. UCI, they set up a commission and they think that we are well represented in this commission, but it's not really the case. It's only a fraction of the teams. I think we need more input from experienced riders.
Now we have two near identical specialized Tarmac S-Works SL8 bikes. The key difference here between this one, which is RedBull's, and the Soudal bikes that we're going to see in a moment, is with the group sets. So we're going to start with Primoz Roglic's. This bike is set up with the SRAM Red Access. It is a beautiful bit of kit, and the team has special edition paint jobs just for the race. We'll start down at the wheels because these are the new Roval Rapid CLX 3s. They're newish. So they've got the carbon spokes and they've got a slightly new hub. But Roval is really sticking with a rim shape that it knows works. And these ones have just been lightened a little bit from the old wheels that we saw previously. Interestingly for me though, isn't the wheels, it's what's on the wheels, because Specialized has long been producing tubeless tyres, but a lot of its teams still stuck with its kind of old cotton clincher tyres. But these ones look like they've got a nice cotton sidewall, but this valve here gives the game away. This is a tubeless tyre, and this would be the new Specialized Turbo Cotton TLR, which is tubeless. Up here, I think it's really interesting to see that Roglic is not going with one of those super short saddles. This is an S-Works Phenom, which is quite a long traditional model. But if you want to come down with me here, because this is the main part of the difference between this and the Soudal bikes. So this is the SRAM Red Access group set. And Roglic is pretty traditional, really. He's going for the pretty pro standard these days, 54-41 tooth chainring. Out at the back, he has a super wide range cassette. That, I would imagine, is a 10 to 36 tooth model. And you've obviously got the red rear derailleur. Okay, as you can see, this is the bike of Tim Merlier, but as you can also see, we can't actually get at it. We were having lunch, so that's a nip in here. A few things that are different about this bike: the Dura Ace Di2 group set. Now, that means the shifters up here, they have a bit less reach, which means that next year, under the new UCI rules, Shimano riders might just be able to cant their levers just a little bit more in. That might be a fraction of a watt saved. I also want to have a look at this. These are the same wheels that Roglic had, but he's got the Rapid Air TLR tyres. They look quite wide. They look like at least 28 millimeters wide, but they haven't actually got any markings on, so I can't actually tell. Then down here on the chainrings, Merlier is a sprinter and will be going for yellow in the first stage. He's running a 56-44 tooth chainring setup, which is absolutely huge. Then out at the back, there looks to be an 11 to 30 tooth cassette. Final details are Merlier is actually running the Specialized Phenom Mimic saddle, and I believe that's a women's edition. And then up at the front, they've got a K-Edge computer mount. But we're not just done yet with Soudal Quickstep, because I want to take a look at this. Look at that jazzy little saddle design. It's a completely open structure, which is very, very nice, but it looks to be 3D printed from definitely a different material to the other saddles. It's got a very jazzy red base. I like that. Let's see if we can get one. Next up is the new lightweight climbing bike of Julian Alaphilippe. Although, is it actually that lightweight? Well, word on the street is, in this kind of build, with the Wahoo up there, it's just over 7 kilos, which means that the new Cervelo R5 in-race build is actually lighter than this thing. They've got the SRAM Red, obviously this is the top-end stuff, and they have the pro-level gearing. That right there is a 5239. So this isn't currently, I don't think, UCI illegal next year. Everything this week seems to have been quite aerodynamic, so I love to see a nice lightweight bike. But what do you think of this thing? Let me know in the comments. And here it is. So this one, the Y1 RS, was released by Colnago end of last year. And this thing, well, it's meant to be aero, and I was quite surprised with some of the tube shapes that they did, especially down at the back end. But the result is that they said that this is 20 watts faster than the old V4 RS. Now, obviously, they updated the V4 RS to make the V5 RS faster. I'm saying a lot of numbers and letters. I think you should just look at it, because this is very nice. One thing to note on this is new Continental tyres. These came out a few weeks ago. These are the Archetype tyres. They're 30 millimeters wide, which means that they are legal on these rims by the ETRTO guidelines, but also they sit kind of between the GP5000 TT and the GP5000 TR. So I don't really know whether these tyres have been made basically just to fit these rims. I would kind of suspect they have been. Other nice little notes on this: the one-piece cockpit, very sleekly integrated with the Wahoo computer, and Tadej's got his kind of like bullish Hulk fighter bloke up here. We've seen a lot of pedal power over the last couple of days, but to make the race happen, you need some horsepower. So these are the official motorbikes of a lot of like the race referees and general other officials on the race. Those red ones over there, they're the ones you want to watch out for. If you get approached by one of those motorbikes, you've been a very naughty cyclist and they're going to give you a yellow card or something. I don't know anything about these because I don't know anything about motorbikes. So if you're a motorbike fan, tell me what they are, apart from motorbikes. Behind me is a very special bike. That is Tadej Pogacar's TT bike, but we don't know whether he's going to use it. He will definitely be using it for the flat time trial, but we don't know whether he'll be using it for the mountains time trial. So this thing has a few really interesting features. Those tyres there are the Continental GP5000 TT tyres, but they're in a size 25. So they're going pretty narrow with these things. Got the same kind of silver hubs and spokes as we saw earlier on in the video, but that rim is so much deeper. That looks like, well, it's easily an 80, could even be a 100 mil. His front end is incredible, really well tuned to him, and he's got the skateboard grip tape down on the base part, which means he won't be spending much time down there because his hands or gloves would get shredded. The final thing that I love about this, and I would like to finish the video on this, is the size of that chainring. Now, UAE couldn't tell me exactly what it is, but it is dinner plate sized. And I'm off to get a pizza of that size. Thank you very much for watching. If you like our Tour de France content, then make sure that you do subscribe because it does help us to make it. Remember to like this video, and if you want to see more Tour de France content, there will be a video floating around above me somewhere. Might be up here. Who knows? Time for pizza.